Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and I'd like to welcome you to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. If you'd like to learn more about Stoicism, or if you want some added inspiration in your day, just go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com. If you're interested in transforming your life with Stoic principles, then I also offer one-on-one coaching. To book your first free session, just head to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching and follow the links. But for now, enjoy this episode. Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about time. Hopefully, I'll be able to encourage you to make some fundamental changes in the way that you spend your time, and also in the value that you place on your time. Because as I'm sure you all know, your time is the most valuable asset that you have. And what makes it so valuable is the fact that you really don't know how much of it you have. You could be healthy and well one day, and then be hit by a bus in the next. That's the game of life. That's the ultimate challenge, to squeeze as much life as you can out of each moment, until that final day when your time is up. And that's really what today's episode is all about, the way that we spend our precious time. I was inspired to talk to you about this after I went back through my notes from a book that I'm sure many of you would have heard of. It's called On the Shortness of Life, and it's a small collection of letters written by Seneca, all with the general theme of the frailty of life. This book, although not widely recognized, is a must-read for any Stoic who wants to learn from the greats, and I would highly recommend that you go and buy it as soon as you can. So anyway, there was a particular quote that I read that really spoke to me, and I wanted to share it with you here. Seneca said, quote, "You must not think a man has lived long because he has white hair and wrinkles. He has not lived long, just existed long." End quote. Now, this quote from Seneca really has the power to give you a complete paradigm shift when it comes to the way that you view your life. Because what Seneca is rightly pointing out here is that there is a big difference between truly living and merely existing. And so I want you to ask yourself this question: am I living or am I existing? It's a pretty deep question, but when you have this paradigm shift and you understand that this is really the secret to a good life, then your life becomes more about quality than quantity. You stop worrying so much about how much time you have left, and you start focusing on how much life you have packed into every minute and every hour. You discover that death is not so frightening, but what is truly frightening is an unlived life. And to build on this idea, I have another killer quote from Seneca. He said, quote, "Life is like a play. It's not the length, but the excellence of the acting that matters." End quote. And that's coming from one of the most successful playwrights of the time, so you know that he's seen both excellent and terrible acting. But all that aside, I want this to be the first lesson that you take away from this episode. Your time should be measured in quality, not quantity. Once you are truly able to absorb this principle, you'll see the positive changes in almost every area of your life. And if you act on your desire to pack more life into your time, then you'll essentially be putting your life on steroids. And I want to point out that this does not mean that you should become a hyper-productive workaholic who doesn't sleep and doesn't eat. No, that's not what Seneca is talking about. What he's talking about is choosing to live fully in all that you do. And I think that the best quote to describe what this might look like actually comes from Jim Rohn, who said in his very simplistic but effective way, "Wherever you are, be there." If you're at work, really be at work. If you're having a lazy Saturday at home, really have a lazy Saturday. If you're spending time with friends, then put the phones down for a moment and really connect. Wherever you happen to be, and whatever you happen to be doing, make the decision to be present and focused. Give your time the gift of attention. With all of the notifications and text messages and posts and content flying all around us 24/7, it's so easy to get lost in the clutter. So what I want you to do is to become focused on where you are and what you're doing. And on top of that, focus on quality, not quantity. Now, once you've really started to value your time, and once you've decided that you're going to focus on quality over quantity, a natural byproduct will be the fact that you're going to have to say no to a few things. and you'll have to start being intentional about where, when, and with whom you spend your time. And so I wanted to share some more words from Seneca that will hopefully inspire you to be even more protective of your precious time. He said, quote, "I decide to restrict my life within its walls, saying, let no one rob me of a single day who is not going to make me an adequate return for such a loss." End quote. It's funny how Seneca was a wealthy investor, and he's teaching us here that we should look at our time as an investment. If you're going to give up your time for something or someone, then you need to make sure that you're getting a sufficient return for that time spent. So there will be things that you'll have to give up, and those things will be subjective. Something that brings a lot of value to you may not be of any value to me. And so what you'll have to do is decide what brings you the most value in your life. Is it friendship? Is it money? Is it service? Love? I'll give you an example. I recently had some friends ask me if I wanted to go and see a movie with them, and my answer was an immediate no, because I don't put a lot of value on sitting in a theatre for 2 hours. But if those same people had asked me to come and hang out with them for an evening, then I probably would have changed plans so that I could do that, because I place a lot of value on the time that I spend connecting with those people. The return that I would get from spending 2 hours playing games and talking and laughing with those friends would be well worth the cost, and so I would gladly spend that time. So I hope that you can now see how the Stoics should view time and life. I hope that this episode really makes you think about how you spend your time. Are you living a life of quality? Do you get the most out of your ever-fleeting hours alive? Are you getting high returns for your invested time? And speaking of which, I hope that you're getting high returns on your invested time listening to these podcasts. I hope that you're getting ideas and strategies that will justify the time that you're spending with me. And on that note, I'll talk to you next time, unless of course you decide that your time is better spent listening to someone else, in which case I wish you all the best. But for the rest of you, I hope that you do listen on Wednesday, where I'll be reading people's answers to the question, who is your favorite Stoic and why? If you do want to send me an answer to that question, that would be greatly appreciated. Just go to risetothegoodlife.com and send me an email via the contact page. So I'll talk to you on Wednesday, but until then, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I hope that you've gotten a lot of value out of it, and I hope that it helps you to live a better life. If you have enjoyed the podcast, then don't forget to subscribe so that you'll be the first to know when there are new episodes. If you really love the podcast, then I would appreciate a positive review, whether that's on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever else you listen. Don't forget that if you're interested in one-on-one Stoic coaching, then you can head to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching to book your first free session today.